I got asked an extremely hard question the other day. Someone came up to me and they were telling me how a friend in their life had put on a massive amount of weight in a short period of time, and this person wanted to support the person, but they didn't know how to bring it up in a way that wouldn't offend them. Now, this is a subject that I've had to address a lot of my time in the fitness industry. So today I want to share the 5 ways or the 5 approaches you must put in place if you want to help somebody in a situation in a caring and loving way where you can actually help them move towards a better direction in their life. So a couple of days ago, I was having a conversation with someone and they were saying how a friend in their life had quickly put on a huge amount of weight. And you could tell that this person who I was talking to was in a place where they really cared about this person. Like they actually cared about trying to help this person make progress. And they wanted to address the subject with the person, but at the same time, they were so concerned about making them feel bad or making them feel self-aware or making them feel vulnerable that they weren't having that conversation. And they were kind of curious to see how I would approach a time like this. And I've got to be honest, since I've worked in fitness for a long time, this is a question that I've had thrown at me quite a few times. So I thought I'd share my thoughts around how I would approach it in these situations. And I kind of think for me, there's about 5 steps we've got to put in place. So step number 1, I've actually written them down, so here you go. So step number 1, I think the first question you need to ask yourself is, am I the right person to have this discussion? And this is a really important question to explore. The reason is the person who has this discussion should A, have a long built trust with the person they're working with that shows that they care for this person, that they're coming from the right place in this person's life. Like if it's just someone in your work who you know has put weight on, if you just chuck at them, hey, I know you put some weight on, and you don't have that bond of trust in your relationship, that can be a really scary place for the person who's put on weight. So the first thing to explore is, am I the right person to do this? And that's really exploring, am I coming from a caring place? Have I built trust with this person that shows that I am fundamentally coming from a place of caring? And do I want to love on this person in the right way possible? The second thing to explore around this part here is, am I willing to do the work? Because ideally, if someone's in a place where they need to make some change and you throw a question at them and then you kind of leave them to themselves, maybe it's best that you don't throw the question at them. So first of all, have I built a trusting, caring relationship? But also, am I willing to support them as they move towards the change that maybe they need to make? The second thing is, and I'll go back to my piece of paper here, is find the right space to have the conversation. And this is a really important thing. There's probably 2 ways to think about this. A, the right time. So you don't just want to kind of throw it at them. It might be that you have to prepare them. It might be, hey, I'd love to catch up for a coffee because I want to talk about something that I think is pretty important. So you're almost preparing them in a healthy way for that place. Also, it needs to be a space where they are comfortable. So it might be, can I come around to your house? I'd love to have a chat about something that I think is really important. So you don't want to just kind of throw them in the dirt. Because imagine if someone brought up something in your life where you felt vulnerable and you're in a public space, would you feel comfortable in that space? Like you may think everyone can hear what you're talking about. So it's all these types of things we need to be aware of. So what's the space? Now, when I talk about space, there's 2 things. There's A, the physical space, and then B, the space that you're in as you move towards the conversation. So as you move towards it, emotionally and mindset-wise, putting yourself in the right space to have the conversation is a really important thing to think about. Step number 3 is you're not talking about a weight problem here. So you're not going to address the actual weight. You're talking about self-care. Because ultimately, unless someone has a medical problem that's made them put on a lot of weight quickly, the majority of the time is that they're not looking after themselves. So it's not a conversation around, hey, you've put on a lot of weight, what's happening? It's, hey, I get the feeling you're not looking after yourself in your life right now. And I'm worried for you and I want to be here to support you in the healthiest way possible. So we don't need to put the magnifying glass on the obvious thing. Like obviously the weight's the indicator that maybe they're not looking after themselves. But the discussion starts from a place of, I'm worried you're not looking after yourself. I'm worried you're not caring for yourself. And as you can do that, it's a much safer conversation for the person who's put the weight on, which then maybe allow them to be way more open to what you can offer and maybe them moving forward to doing some work on themselves. Whereas if you say, I've noticed you put a lot of weight on, They might feel defensive, they're going to feel vulnerable, they can feel bad about themselves. It just puts them in a really horrible position. And obviously, again, the weight is probably something that they need to work on, but actually, it's probably more of a self-care discussion. Step number 4, as I go back to my little piece of paper here, is once you've had that discussion, you're trying to help them move towards an action plan. So this is a really important thing. So let's say I have a conversation and I say, hey, look, I notice you're not looking after your health. And we have a good discussion of why. It might be that life's too big for them. It might be that they're struggling mentally. It might be they're working too hard. And so you're trying to address the reason why they're not looking after their health. And then from there, you can have a discussion around, well, if things were to change, what needs to be put in place? So if it's mental health, how do you get mental health support? If it's life's too busy, how do you lessen your load? Is it that you just haven't been aware of what's happening in your life? It's how do you create some awareness? So you're trying to help them see a bit of a pathway forward, because ultimately we need to help them create some change, which is getting them back in the right direction in their life. And ideally in this situation, it's a conversation where you're both working together to help find the best solution that is realistic for this person. And then step number 5 is support them towards taking the actions that you guys come up with together. And this is really important because change journeys are hard. And support, you can talk with the person around, how can I support you? And it's a really good question to ask. Just say, hey, well, you've said, it's been a bit of a mental health problem and you feel getting some help in your mental health will really help you. How can I support you towards that? And they might say, you know what, can you just check in every couple of weeks to see how I'm getting along? Like, you can let them guide you in how you can support them. And then your job is to keep that commitment. So if you're going to have this conversation, it's not just, hey, I need to help bring awareness and a pathway, is I'm on your team and I'll kind of support you every step of the way. Because if you can be that person for them, A, you're building a much more trusting relationship. B, they'll see you're coming from a place of caring. And if you are supporting them, there's a higher chance they'll actually move towards those actions, which will get them to a healthier place. Now, I'll be honest, there'll be more things that we need to think about in addressing this area, but I think it's in a really important area that we should address in people's lives. Like, if we know that the people that we love and care for are falling back because they're not looking after their health, it's really important that we do it in the right way, but that we actually do it. So again, to recap the steps, am I the right person? Have I built a loving, trusting relationship that shows I care? Am I going to show a commitment for the long term towards their progress? Find the right space, so make it safe for them and put yourself in the right mind space as you're doing it. When you have the conversation, it's about, I notice that you're not looking after yourself. It's not about the weight. And then from there, you're trying to help them find a pathway that addresses the real problems they have that can help them move forward. And then you're going to support them along the way. If you can have this conversation, you can maybe help people make massive change quicker than what they would have had to by themselves. And you can help the people in your life get to a much healthier place. It's actually quite an important role. So hopefully my tips have helped you become the person who can help people who are maybe in a struggling time. If you enjoy my pieces and you want to bring exercise into your life, you need to check out my book, I Will Make You Passionate About Exercise. This book is designed to be a step-by-step journey that teaches you the right lessons and experiences to guide bringing exercise into your life, not just for a moment, but where you get to the place where you have a long-term love of exercise. So you get fitter, you get healthier, you have great stress releases, and you feel amazing about yourself. This book has been hugely successful, getting to the top 10 in the world for health and fitness books. So if it's time for you to bring health and fitness into your life, go to Passion About Exercise, click on the link, go through the process, and you can be starting your journey of finding your love for exercise really soon.